What's up, boopers? I've got some pretty awesome news. I've recently gotten my hands on the 1 to 15 press pass for Wildstar. That means I can start making my own content videos. Woo! For the guys asking me about Final Fantasy XIV and Terra, for now I will be focusing my content around Wildstar. I'll actually be starting a new series on my channel, and I'll be calling it State of Wildstar, or SoW for short. I'm not going to be making guide videos yet for Wildstar. That'd be pointless as the game is still in beta and everything keeps changing drastically with every patch. So instead, I'll talk about the state of all the aspects of the game and how they are evolving and changing within each patch, as the NDA allows me, of course. This should make it easier for people not in the beta to keep up to date with what is happening in the world of Wildstar without having to constantly dig through news articles, streams, and 30-minute videos. So for the first video, I'll be introducing everybody to what Wildstar is exactly and all of its features, particularly for those of you who don't know much about the MMO yet, and hopefully it will get you as excited about it as I am. So let's get started. Boop. Welcome to Wildstar. It's a new upcoming sci-fi MMO with a cartoon art style, but don't let the art style fool you. This game is packed with mature themes and dark humor and is anything but a child's Saturday morning cartoon. The story is that there was this ancient, extremely advanced race called the Elden, but these Elden mysteriously vanished a while ago, leaving behind all of their technology. Nexus is a recently discovered planet that was home to these Elden, and now that it has been found, everyone and their moms are racing to discover its secrets and salvage its resources for their own needs. Now, at the start of your journey, you will be forced to choose between one of two factions, the Dominion or the Exile. One faction isn't really bad and the other one's good. They're just different and do not get along. The Dominion are more about order and power, whereas the Exiles are more about freedom and balance. So once you arrive on Nexus in the game, you'll be informed that it is a year after the planet was discovered and the war over Nexus began, thus explaining the already established cities and camps you will find while leveling. So let's go into the races and classes. Each faction features 4 races. The Exiles have humans, Auran, Granok, and Mordesh, while the Dominion have the Cassians, the Chua, the Draken, and the Mekari. At the moment, the race you pick is almost purely cosmetic. The only difference is what races are allowed to play what classes, as not all races can be every class. For the classes, we've got the heavy armor wearing warriors and engineers. The medium armor pals are the medic and the stalker, and then we've got the cloth buddies, spellslinger, and esper. Now the game follows the typical trifecta of healer, DPS, and tank, but it goes about it in a unique way. All 6 classes can spec DPS, or as Wildstar calls it, they can spec Assault, and they can also spec into something called Support. But depending on the class, Support either means you are a healer or a tank. Warriors, Engineers, and Stalkers specking as Support will make them tanks, while Espers, Medics, and Spellslingers will be healers when using their support tree. Now, I won't go into the classes individually in this video, so let's move on to character progression and customization in Wildstar. So currently in Wildstar, there are 4 ways to improve your character's performance in PvP and PvE. First, and the most obvious, is gear. Just get better equipment and you have better stats and everybody's happy. The second, and not well revealed yet, is rune crafting, which is similar to gemming your gear with special runes to give them stat bonuses. Third is tier points. Starting at level 10, you get 1 tier point per level that you can use to upgrade one of your skills, improving its damage or healing or effect, whatever it does. However, at the higher tiers, sometimes unlocking these will improve that ability in a unique way or give it an extra feature. However, the higher tiers cost more tier points. Deciding what skill to improve and what skill to leave as it is can make the difference between a good and a bad player. And lastly, fourth, are the amps. These are like talent points that split into 3 main trees. Speccing down different trees will unlock hybrid trees between them, giving more abilities. balancing out your amps so that you get all of the cool abilities seems like it'll be a fun challenge, as there are a ton of them, but not all of them are available from the get-go. Some amps must be bought or found out in the world, so it'll take some work to get your reputation or kill that boss that drops your amp before you can say your character is perfect. There's also vanity character customization, and this is basically costumes, armor dyes, and even mount decorations. But I should note that all costumes do not work in any of the organized PvP areas such as battlegrounds. So next, let's talk about Wildstar's PvP. They have already announced publicly that there will be both PvP and PvE servers, and on PvE servers you are able to flag for PvP to attack other flagged players, but they cannot attack you unless you flag yourself first. Now, your main opponent will always be the opposing faction, and the game does a good job from levels 1 to 15 of making you hate them. There's also battlegrounds, which are limited to 2 so far in levels 1 to 15. It seems one BG is of a capture the flag type map called Walatiki Temple, where the goal is to capture or steal 5 masks before the enemy team does. The other BG, which becomes available at level 15, is a turn-based BG where one side attacks and the other defends, with the goal of holding the control points to unlock gates. If the attackers unlock 3, the sides switch and the other team tries to attack and beat their time. The fastest team to unlock all 3 gates will win. We've also got arenas for 2v2, 3v3, and 5v5 announced, and something called Warplots announced. 40 versus 40 battles with organized teams. Now, I can only show you footage from Carbine themselves on these so far, as they are not for levels 1 to 15, but they have said that the 40 vs 40 warplots will allow you to customize your own plot of land and then attempt to destroy another group's plot of land. And if you are attacked and don't have 40 members online, players are allowed to enter warplots as mercenaries and battle as mysterious travelers, only interested in the rewards of the warplot and not the outcome. So it seems that even if you like to fly solo, you can still get a piece of the warplot action. So next, let's take a glimpse at the PvE content, the bulk of content for any MMO. Starting out, each player is to choose one of 4 paths that will dictate somewhat of the content available to them while leveling. The paths are Soldier, Settler, Scientist, and Explorer. Each path is given special side quests, and at higher levels special skills depending on their path. I'll go into these in more detail in a path-specific video, but the general outline is that soldiers fight, explorers explore, scientists are going to be scanning stuff and checking out left-behind technology, and the settlers basically build shit. Now, let's talk about leveling and the zones now. Each faction will start on their mothership and be able to choose from one of 2 starting areas, making a total of 4 starting paths for you to discover if you want to re-roll an alt and see new content. The paths all converge in the capital, however, around level 15, and then you will join up with all of your friends, and I'm not exactly sure when you will start to see the other faction, but I imagine it's shortly after that point. Now, a lot of the quests in Wildstar are delivered to you through a comm system, or a cell phone if you will, and this allows for faster paced, convenient questing. While traveling through these zones, you can get phone calls for quests, discover random chests with good items or secret buffs, start challenges which if completed can reward you with all sorts of goodies, or find path quests that require you to do something based off of your path. The questing is also off of the rail style, so you can wander around grinding and find quests from drops or random phone calls. The world is really yours to explore. Just watch out for pretty flowers that are not actually pretty flowers and giant space aliens that try to eat you. Now, aside from grinding and questing, you can gain experience through PvP or adventures or dungeons. So next, let's talk about that group PvE content. Now, Wildstar features 4 types of group PvE content, and they are scenarios, adventures, dungeons, and raids. A scenario in Wildstar is actually called a ship hand, and it can be done from 1 to 5 players. They are hidden throughout the world, but are always really fun to do. You'll get a quest to go on a ship somewhere in space and do a series of tasks which tend to eventually end in you killing some creepy alien boss. Then you receive a reward based on your performance, as well as the quest reward. So next is adventures. And adventures are like mini dungeons that are done with 5 players, and the first starts at level 15. The reason they are not dungeons and mini dungeons is that you tend to be playing out a story in which you choose how to solve each problem. And by choose, I mean your group will vote whether to kill people or collect stuff or escort someone, and each choice you make changes how the adventure plays out. And it seems each adventure has a reputation tied to it as well as rewards based on your performance. The last 2 features, dungeons and raids, are beyond the level 1 to 15 NDA. However, I can show you footage from Carbine's release stuff to show you what you can expect. They promise interesting bosses that reward good loot without too much trash between the bosses, 5-man dungeons and 20 to 40-man raids. So, if you're planning on raiding in Wildstar, you should start recruiting your old gaming buddies and prepare your intergalactic space armies. Okay, and the last 2 features of Wildstar are going to be crafting and housing. So let's start with the crafting. The crafting system in Wildstar covers everything you'd expect, be it weapons, gathering, or each type of armor. We've also got a parts and potions crafter called the Technologist and the furniture crafter called the Architect. All in all, if you're playing with friends, I suggest you divide up the tasks so you've got them all. But even if you don't want to, Wildstar allows you to have 2 professions at any time, and you can switch between them without losing your levels. However, the cooldown on switching goes up if the level of the profession is higher. You've also got cooking and farming and rune crafting, which don't count for these 2 slots that anybody can do. The crafting requires a bit of creativity and requires you to go through tech trees and unlock talent points to improve your crafting, and careful use of power cores and overcharging to get the best stats possible. The main upside of crafting, though, is that it allows you to completely customize your gear to get the exact stats you want on it, rather than relying on the randomness of dungeon drops and crest rewards. And last but not least, the housing feature of Wildstar is pretty damn fun. You can buy your house and plot different activities to do around your house, and then you can buy furniture to decorate the inside and outside of your house as well. Housing items can come from dungeons, challenges, reputation, or drops, or architects can craft them. Some are extremely useful, such as biomes that allow you to teleport from your house to a particular zone, or target dummies to test your DPS. The best thing is a 24-hour buff for XP, which changes which is stronger each day to encourage you to try different things. And the second best thing is your ability to travel to your house from anywhere, and then go back to where you were. Great for anybody who wants to start gardening randomly in the middle of questing. So that's the basic outline of all of the features in Wildstar. From here on in, I'll be doing specific videos to focus on each of these features with the current state they are in the beta. So if you're interested in learning about something specific, check back for that video. But if you're interested in learning about all things Wildstar, just subscribe and you'll start seeing more SoW videos popping up. Until then, I am booping out. Boop.